and welcome back to my kitchen. But in case this is the first time you're stopping by, my name is Gina and I'm a wife and mother from the Midwest who enjoys cooking fresh meals for her family. Sometimes I make videos and I post them here on YouTube. Today I'm going to be making my version of Italian beef sandwiches. If you guys have watched my channel at all in the past, you know I'm from the Midwest. I'm sure you can tell by my accent that I am from the Chicagoland area, and we love us an Italian beef sandwich. You can get them at Portillos, Buona Beef, or pretty much any type of hot dog stand around here, but it's not something that they have everywhere, I don't think. I think it's kind of a Midwestern thing. Like, I know Portillos has a couple locations in different states now, but anyways, I just thought I would share. Traditionally, these sandwiches are made of a large roast beef, which is sliced thin on like a deli slicer. And since I don't have that, we're just gonna be using a chuck roast and slow cooking it so it shreds up nice and easy. The flavors will be the same. It's gonna be delish. It'll just look a little bit different in the end. So, as you can see, our ingredients here are like slim pickings. It takes barely anything to make this. So it's fairly inexpensive for the number of sandwiches you get, and it's super easy. So let's talk about our ingredients. The first thing you're going to need is a roast, and I prefer using chuck roast. And as you can see, this package is slimy and gross, so I will not be going back to Tony's Finer Foods for meat, because this is like the third time I've gotten gross meat from Tony's. But it looks like the roast itself is okay. It's just poorly packaged, or it wasn't processed properly before it was sliced up for sale. So in any case, this is 3 pounds of a chuck roast. Don't skimp on the meat. You want to have enough to make quite a few sandwiches, especially since you're cooking this all day and it's going to be so good. So 3 to 4 pounds, nothing less. So chuck roast. The next thing that you're going to be needing is a package of Italian dressing seasoning. So this is the kind, those old-fashioned ones, when I was growing up, like they had like the special salad dressing bottle and your mom would make it. So Good Seasons Zesty Italian dressing is what I'm using. But if you can find like an Aldi brand or an off-brand, I'm sure you can use it. But this is a 0.6 ounce packet, in case you were wondering. Next thing we're going to be needing is some pepperoncini. So I've seen lots of recipes for like Mississippi pot roast and stuff where they use the sliced up pepperoncini, but personally, like, I love these, but my daughters don't. So I don't want to have slices of this running through the shredded meat. I want to be able to kind of like separate these to the side and just pick the beef out, so that way whoever makes their sandwich can have it how they like it. So I'm using whole pepperoncinis, and these are mild ones, I think. Imported peppers, I don't know. They're just pepperoncini. It doesn't say. The next thing we're going to be using is giardiniera. I'm using mild. My husband would prefer if I used spicy, but I'm going to try to get the girls to eat this, as I had said. So we're going to use a little bit of this in the actual cooking, like some of the oil and a couple of pieces of the actual giardiniera. But this is mainly for serving. And then lastly, we're going to need some beef stock. So any kind of beef stock you want to use. It doesn't have to be unsalted. I use salted beef stock all the time, and it's fine. And then for serving, you are going to need a loaf of French bread and some provolone cheese. So let me go ahead and prep my beef up. I'm going to go ahead and trim it of fat and then cut it in some chunks, and I'll show you what it looks like once I get it in the crock pot. Okay, so this is what our beef looks like. I went ahead and I removed a good amount of fat. You got to be careful not to trim off too much of the meat. Like, I got a little bit too much right here. So I can probably throw that back in, this piece. But in any case, you would end up picking this out in the end, because these large chunks of fat like this are not going to cook down. I definitely left some on there because that adds to the flavor of the dish, but I don't want it to be too greasy, and I don't want to have to dig out like silver skin or gristle or anything like that. Excuse me, be quiet. So for me, it's worth it to do it in the prep work, but if you don't like touching raw meat, you can definitely do it in the end. My next tip is, I took a paper towel and you dip it right in the giardiniera, which I don't want to touch because I just touched raw meat. And you want to get it wet with the oil, and you're going to use that oil to grease your crock pot. So it adds just a little bit of anti-stick properties, to the inside of your crock pot and a little bit of flavor. The next thing I'm going to do is open up this seasoning and get it all over the beef. I'll be back in 1 second to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I kind of went ahead and did some extra stuff because I realized I wasn't going to be able to do it with one hand. So here we go. So as you can see, let's get all up in here. I used that package of Italian dressing seasoning just to rub our meat with. And I made sure every piece had some on it, coated it really nicely. And then I laid our beef down in one flat layer in the bottom of the slow cooker, which, as you know, has already been greased with a little bit of jardiniere oil. And then I went ahead and added about 3/4 of the package of banana peppers, pepperoncinis, whatever you want to call them, right into the pot. I just kind of snuggled them in there. As I mentioned, a lot of people use the sliced ones. If you want to, you're just going to go ahead and, you know, sprinkle them over the top there. But I like to be able to remove these for whoever doesn't want them. I added about 2 full tablespoons of the jardiniere, the actual mixture of the vegetables, and just sprinkled it over the top. Just adds a little extra flavor, but won't add too much spice because it's mild. And then the next thing we're going to do is take the juice here of our banana peppers or pepperoncini, whatever you want to call it, and about half of the liquid that's in there, you're just going to pour that directly over your meat. And we're going to do the same with a little bit of this oil. And hot oil is delicious. If you're not from the Chicagoland area, I don't know if other people eat jardiniere like we do here, but it's a very delicious condiment. It's spicy, it's acidy, it's crunchy, it's salty, and the oil is just delish. So don't be shy. Add about probably 2 to 3 tablespoons right over the top. And then the last thing we have to do is add our beef stock. So we're not going to be using this whole thing. I would say probably 1 can size of beef stock would work. All right, go on downstairs then, girlfriend. What? That's not a sword, girlfriend. That's part of your bunk bed. Okay, see you later. That's my daughter Felicity. I have twins, in case you guys don't know. So anyways, what I was saying is we're going to use about half of this, or just enough to come up to almost cover the beef. So I always keep these, I think it's a quart, right? Is that what it is? 32 ounces, 4 cups. Packages of beef stock, just because I use stock a lot, but 1 to 2 cans would be enough, and that looks good. So now that everybody's covered, just gonna try to snuggle this big piece under and jiggle them around so that there's a little bit of liquid underneath each piece so it doesn't stick further. There we go. And now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pop the lid on. I think I'm gonna add a little black pepper. This is not in the ingredients, but everybody has black pepper in their house, so I need to reorganize my spice thing. Ooh, I'm going to show you guys what I did to my pantry yesterday. Just adding a little sprinkle, probably about half a teaspoon to a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to plug her in. We're going to set this for... We want it on low. I'm gonna put 8 hours and 30 minutes. I usually do it on 9, but this chuck roast looked a little smaller after I cut it up, but it'll be done anywhere between 8 and 9 hours. And on high, I would say probably 4 hours, but I honestly don't recommend using your crock pot on high. I just don't like the way it turns out. Every recipe that I try to cook on high always turns out that the meat is not tender enough. Hey girls, can you quiet down for a second? Can you just do that for me? Thank you. It always turns out that the meat isn't very tender, or it's just not as good. So before I sign off for the day, check out what I did, guys. My one friend Sarah did this, and I stole her idea, and it is fantastic. That is a shoe organizer. And I hung it up inside of my pantry because my house is tiny. I mean, my house is like 1,200 square feet or maybe less, something like that. And all of this was like on these shelves right here. So I still have to work on it a little bit more today to organize it a little bit better in here. But I have so much more space here, and it freed up tons of space in my cabinets. So now everything's nice and organized. I've got oil and vinegar only over here, pancake section. This is just flours and sugars. And then this cabinet is now for baking stuff. So I will let you guys know if I figure out something interesting to do with this, because your girl has a hot mess of spices. So anyway, guys, I'll be back when I check on this next. I'll probably check on it after lunchtime just to see. And we are going to, when it's finished and it's ready to be shredded, we're going to shred it up and then let it go for like 30 minutes, you know, in the juices. So I'll let you know exactly what point I do that. All right, guys, it has been about 6 hours. I'm here just checking in on my beef here to see what's up, see if we're ready to start shredding. I'm just mostly hoping because I'm kind of hungry, so let's check it out. Oh yeah, babe. Already nice and tender. It is breaking apart with my fork in one hand. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is carefully remove all of this beef to a cutting board, remove any gristle that's left or any fat. I'm going to shred it up into larger size chunks, and then we're going to let this simmer for another hour or so in its juices, just so all of the beef gets all that flavor all up in there. All right, so I went ahead and I actually just did it in a bowl here, and you can see because we were careful earlier with trimming the beef, this is all I had to remove. There's just a little bit of silver skin, and all the rest of the fat has dissolved. Girls, 1 second, please. I also went ahead and I removed our pepperoncinis, and I took off the stem end here, and I threw them in a bowl because we don't want to be eating those once we scoop this out and we start putting it on our French bread. So this is what it looks like. We're going to let it simmer, as I had mentioned, for another 30 minutes to an hour just so the flavors can melt together. And if you guys use the whole pepperoncinis like I do, you're going to be amazed. Like a condiment here that we eat is sweet peppers that are simmered in the juice here in Chicago. And usually pepperoncinis are a waxy texture, but since these have simmered all day, they're juicy and the skin is really soft and they're just super, super good. So this is, we're not going to remove them and toss them. I'm actually just going to use these as a condiment instead of sweet peppers or giardiniera on my beef because they're so good, guys. All right, kitchen fam. So your girl is hungry and my poor husband is going to be late again. It is already 5:30. He's not going to be home for another couple of hours, even though he left at the crack of dawn this morning. So I'm going to eat by myself right now. I'm going to get a reaction from him, hopefully, if he's not too tired when he gets home. But this has been simmering for another undisclosed amount of time, 45 minutes, and this is what it looks like, guys. So oh god, it smells so good. I'm so excited. It still looks the same, but it just smells delish. So I'm gonna go ahead and serve this up for myself. So I have right here a piece of French bread that I went ahead and just cut open. If you want to, I don't know why I didn't put this on the plate, that I put it right here. You can toast it because the way we serve it up in Chicago is, not the way we serve it up, the ways we serve it up are normal or dry. You can have it with extra gravy, meaning you spoon the juice over it, which is how I'm going to have it. Or you can do it dipped. And dipped is where you literally take the entire sandwich and you would submerge it quickly in this basically au jus, this Italian au jus that's in the pot. I don't like mine dipped necessarily. If I want it really juicy, I prefer to have extra sauce on the side so I can dunk it just because the bread gets all, you know, jiggly and weird. And it's just not my thing. If you're a dipper, dip. Go ahead and dip the sandwich, but it's not for me. But if you're going to dip it, I would highly recommend that you toast your bread first. So that way it has a little bit more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. So it's a little bit crustier. So I'm going to go ahead and layer on my soft bread because I love soft bread. And this is really, really perfect from the bakery. Like this is, look at it. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and layer it up with a layer of the Italian beef. I'm going to spoon over a couple of those pepperoncini there, and then I'm going to top it with the provolone cheese that I mentioned before, and this is just regular old deli provolone cheese. I'm going to put 1 or 2 pieces on there, and then I'm going to spoon some of the hot juice over the cheese so it starts to melt it, and then serve it with the giardiniera on the side. So I'll be back. Oh yeah, boy. Check her out. This is a big old sandwich. It's not that long. Usually these sandwiches are like 6 inches long for a regular beef sandwich, but it's very wide because this is regular French bread and not like an Italian roll or like a thinner French loaf, if you will. So this is a big old sandwich. You can see on the bottom, it's got the juices from the beef soaking in there. We've got our slow-cooked pepperoncinis on there, some provolone cheese, and then a little bit of the giardiniera on there. I'm going to add more, but I wanted it to look cute for the picture, but this sandwich is kind of hard to take a picture of. Like, I think I'm going to have to try again with Daniel's plate because it'll have fries on it. How it looks doesn't do it justice as to how delicious the sandwich is. So I'm not going to try to pick this up with one hand and eat it for you. I'm definitely going to try to get a taste test from Daniel when he gets home. So sit tight, and I'm going to eat the fuck out of the sandwich. Hey guys, as you can see, we are here on this lovely photograph again. It is about 2 weeks later after I filmed this video, and I am editing it, and I realized I didn't film a taste test from Daniel. He got home super late from work and he was too tired, and that was that. So I think you're just gonna have to trust me on this one, guys. A lot of you have been here on this journey with me for almost 2 years now at this point. So I think you can trust my judgment. The beef is tender, flavorful, and juicy. The sandwich itself is fantastic. And for those of my friends who live out of state and you're craving something from home, this will definitely hit you right in the right spot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it, I would sincerely appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I just get so excited every time I get a new subscriber. It just blows my mind that you guys even watch my little videos here. So I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.